Hello girls and squirrels, happy Thursday and welcome back to my channel. Hello everyone, hope you guys are having a great week. Today we're gonna kick off the fall and winter fashion trends series here on my channel. Now usually I put all of these trends into one long video. It ends up usually being like an hour and a half, almost 2 hours long. And this year I wanted to try something different. I asked you guys if you prefer short broken down videos or long videos, and it was pretty neck and neck, honestly. Short videos won by a few votes, and it's something that I wanted to try too. So we're gonna do short versions this time. We may switch back to the old version, but I thought it would be fun to switch it up a little bit. So today's video kicks off our series. So if you guys have been here before, you know I make these videos solely for inspiration. You don't have to follow these trends if you don't want to. You don't have to care about fashion at all, whatever. I make these videos for resellers, for you guys to have in the back of your mind while you're sourcing, so you know what to pick up and what is selling this season. I also make these videos for everybody else who just loves to thrift. I make these videos so that you guys can find these things in thrift stores. I definitely encourage you to shop secondhand, whether it be in a thrift store or online. I think of trends more as like an inspiration and a refresh on different styles, thinking of new ways to style things I already have and how I can work some new pieces into my wardrobe and kind of zhuzh up my closet a little bit. But I always do that secondhand, and I encourage you all to do the same. So the trends we're going to be covering today are decades, aesthetics, color, print, and pattern. So those are all going to be in this video. There will be 3 more videos after this. We will have the overall trends video. We will then have shoes, handbags, accessories, and then a little bonus video. I'm going to do some men's style this time. So I hope you guys are as excited as I am. Let's jump into this first video, shall we? All right, so let's dive on into decades. There are only 2 decades that are like really on display this season, and that is Y2K and 90s. We do have a little bit of 70s kind of disco glam still reminiscing around, still kind of going around here and there, but it is not one of the major trends this fall and winter. We also have some like 80s sportswear going on, some little 80s pieces. I think this has a little bit to do with the new Stranger Things coming out. So we are seeing a little bit of sportswear 80s influence in street fashion. But the 2 I really want to talk about and hone in on are Y2K and 90s. So let's start with Y2K. This has been a trend for the past couple years. It is not going anywhere. If anything, it's ramping up even more. Y2K is here to stay. Y'all are gonna have to get tacky with it. Source those, just the tackiest Y2K stuff you can find. I promise, you throw it on Depop, it will sell. Y2K it's here to stay. Here to stay whether you like it or not. Okay, so the decade I really want to focus on is the 90s. The 90s is coming back in a huge way, and this time it is 90s minimalism, and I am so excited about this. I feel like my style, kind of like the base core of my style is 90s minimalism. Obviously I get a little more crazy with it and I add on the drama because, you know, I can't help myself. I'm over the top and dramatic, but the core of my being is 90s minimalism. I love this so much. We're talking like Monica and Rachel from Friends, that kind of laid back vibe. We're seeing a lot of maxi skirts, specifically the long like pencil maxi skirts, not so much like the flowy ones, although we are seeing big flowy flouncy maxi skirts as well, but just this really good down to basics 90s minimalism. The suit vest as a top, oh, I'm loving it. And speaking of tops, the runways were flooded with this specific top, the white tank top. I know, groundbreaking. Groundbreaking, but in the 90s the white tank top was a staple piece. It wasn't just a basic or an undergarment. It was the showstopper. It was the main event. So get those white tank tops out. Now, would I source these to try and sell? Probably not. You can find a white tank top anywhere, but it is a good key piece to use in your styling with styling up other items that you want to sell. For instance, I style and model all of my clothing for my shop, so I am definitely going to have the white tank top make an appearance in some of these outfits to give some inspiration. Okay, so in previous trends videos, I haven't really honed in on the aesthetics, because aesthetics is just something that I've like thrown out there for you guys to use for keywords when you're listing certain items. But with the rise of TikTok trends and Depop aesthetic trends, I thought we could get a little more in depth with these aesthetics, because they are absolutely everywhere. They are fueling Gen Z fashion, and I think it's important for you guys to not only know the terms for these looks, but also what they all encompass. So let's start with Gorp Core. So Gorp Core is actually named after the term for trail mix, which is good old raisins and peanuts. Gorp Core. So this style focuses on wearing utilitarian, functional, outdoor inspired gear. So with this, we're seeing a ton of puffer. Lots of puffer jackets, puffer coats, puffer vests, a lot of those utilitarian jackets with all the pockets, even into pants. We're seeing a huge rise in cargo pants. So that essentially is what Gorp Core is. And Gorp Core right now is everywhere. It's everywhere. It's even a category on Depop. And that is a trick too, to keep up with these aesthetics, because I know they're going to continue to change as we go through the season. If you go on Depop, you go to where you're going to list an item and you scroll down. I'll put on the screen how to do this. You scroll down, you go to the styles, and it will show you all the categories. Now, not all of them are on there yet, but they are pretty good at keeping up with, you know, new trendy aesthetics, and they will have them as categories. So that's a good place to look. Also, on the Depop news feed, like the home page, they will have some featured aesthetics there as well. Yesterday they had biker core, and it showed, you know, items that qualified for that aesthetic. So just kind of peruse around the Depop app and it will give you a good idea of what aesthetics are on trend. So speaking of biker core, let's just move on to biker core. Biker core is exactly what it sounds like. It's very motorcycle inspired. It's even kind of motocross inspired. I've seen a ton of like motocross jackets, which was a huge thing in the early 2000s, but we're seeing it step up even more. I actually picked up a Fox Rider t-shirt, which is a motocross company, and it has a ton of views on Depop. So fingers crossed it sells soon, but definitely keep an eye out for those things. Keep an eye out for leather jackets, anything with the big buckles on them, chunky motorcycle boots, all of the biker stuff. I really think, I mean, the Harley Davidson trend didn't really go anywhere, but I think it's going to amp back up again. Moving on, next we have Twee, which is think Zooey Deschanel, think Tumblr hipster. It also, I don't know if I'm the only one who sees this, but it's kind of pin-up-y as well. It has some elements of like 50s pin-up style. That could just be me, but this is what Twee is. Pretty much everything that Zooey Deschanel wears. This was a huge, huge thing in the early 2000s when Tumblr was making a pop-off and the hipster movement was alive and well. So this is what Twee is. Next up, we have Barbie core. Now this one is absolutely everywhere, and we can give the credit for Barbie core to the new Barbie movie coming out with Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling. This one's pretty self-explanatory. You're dressing like Barbie, all the hot pinks, all of the bright colors. Barbie core. Need I say more? No. Next up, we have ultra feminine. Now, I didn't know if I should include this in the aesthetics category or not. It is an aesthetic, I guess. It's like romantic, it's over the top, kind of big puffy sleeves, ruffles, super, super feminine. It's also got touches of 50s in there. It's got a very retro feel to it sometimes. It's kind of all over the place, but just this going back to hyper femininity It has seen a really big comeback this season, and I think it's gonna probably amp up even more if I had to guess, but didn't know if I should put it in the trends or the aesthetics category, so here it is, ultra feminine. Now here's one that was everywhere for summer, and that is Coastal Grandmother, and you didn't think she was going anywhere, did you? Because Coastal Grandmother is definitely living her best fall life in her sweaters and her khakis, and she is living it up, sipping wine on the beach. So we have the Coastal Grandmother aesthetic. It reminds me of like a Nicholas Sparks novel. You've got your wine. You're living on a beachfront in like South Carolina, or like one of those, like New Hampshire. Is New Hampshire even a coastal state? Probably not. It's kind of preppy, kind of beachy, but like I said, this can definitely be styled for fall and winter. Just because it's at the beach doesn't mean it's only for summer, apparently. So next up we have Fairy Grunge. Now this is just a take kind of on like 90s grunge, but it's a little more cottagecore. Some cottagecore is thrown in there, some fairy is thrown in there. It's very whimsical, it's kind of bohemian, it's also kind of grungy. It's just really a mix of a lot of things. I will say this aesthetic is super, super popular, and if you find a shirt like the one in the middle, like that fairy t-shirt, the green one, pick it up immediately. I bought one and it sold within an hour. So definitely be on the lookout for shirts like that and any of these kind of whimsical, frolicking in the woods kind of outfits. Speaking of whimsical, we then have Whimsigoth, which is different from fairycore. I know it sounds like, isn't that the same thing? But it's not. This one is taking a little more witchy turn. It's more celestial based. Think Sabrina the Teenage Witch. It's got a lot darker elements. It's leaning on goth, obviously. There's leather, there's combat boots, but it's mixed with like these long floral maxi skirts and the whimsical touches like in fairy grunge. It's just a little more witchy. Okay, so that does it for aesthetics. Let's move on to colors. So I'm gonna start by putting the Pantone color palette for fall and winter 2022 on the screen. You feel free to take a screenshot of it so you can reference that later. So now that you guys have seen that, you've got kind of the gist of what colors are on trend. Let's break down a few that really stood out on the runway and in street styles at Fashion Week. So the first one is all black. Black was everywhere. There was a ton of like goth inspired looks on the runway. Also just a lot of like minimalism looks too, especially with the rise and comeback of 90s minimalism. We saw these all black looks, head to toe black. So black is very in. I'm really excited about this one because I mean black is just kind of one of those colors that's classic and obviously can be worn whenever. It's a tried and true. As you can tell, I am extremely excited about this trend. Black is just such an easy thing to do. It's so chic, it's so classic, but then you can make it into anything with whatever accessories you put on. You can make it goth, you can make it classic, chic, you can make it glam, you can make it anything you want to make it. And black is just one of those colors that it's tried and true. It ain't going anywhere, baby, and I'm glad it's getting a spotlight this season. So with that said, I'm gonna show you my outfit. This is my outfit of the day. Got this little like slip dress on. I've got my little necktie, and then I've got this black blazer that I added these scraps of fabric to, and I am just obsessed with this blazer. I did make it to sell, and now, of course, that it's on my body, I want to keep it. So I was like, I'll wear it for a video, I'll wear it for some pictures, and then I'll sell it if I have to. So also, speaking of my outfit, another color that was just absolutely everywhere in street fashion and on the runway was red. I saw red done in so many ways. Red lipstick, red bags, red shoes, just pops of color here and there. I even saw a ton of monochromatic red outfits as well. So red is definitely one of those colors to keep an eye out for. If you're anything like me, you usually skip over the red in thrift stores. I don't know. Red has just never been my thing, but now, like, seeing it on me with black, like, I'm kind of loving it now. I don't know, red's having a moment. So pick up those red items. I know there's plenty of them at the thrift store because I know I'm not the only one who skips over them. I've seen a lot of people say that they skip over the red section. Another color you don't want to skip over is hot pink. We already talked about this with the Barbie core. Even if you aren't going full out Barbie core with pink all over, we're still seeing a ton of hot pink pops of color, whether it's in a bag or a pair of shoes or a blazer or even jewelry. So keep an eye out for the hot pink. And the last color I want to talk about is caramel tones. Now, usually we see a lot of brown come up in fall. That's just, it usually comes around every fall. This season specifically, I saw a ton of really warm, kind of lighter caramel tones as opposed to the more deep chocolate brown. I don't know if that has anything to do with the fact that black is so on trend. So we kind of needed, usually in fashion, there's like a juxtaposition. So since black is so on trend, I'm assuming that we're going for a lighter brown this season. So keep an eye out for those caramel tones, even camel and tan. I hope you guys don't mind. I had to take that blazer off. I was dying. Despite us going over the fall and fashion trends, it is still very much hot here in South Georgia. All right, let's move on to prints and patterns. So first up, we have body. Now, I've been seeing this emerge. We started to see it kind of creep out at the end of summer, but it is in full swing for fall and winter. Now, it kind of looks like thermal imaging. It is really focusing on the shape and the silhouette of the body, and it's got all these different tones. It can be either more subtle, like in the first picture, where it's just kind of outlining like the shape of her body, or it can be a little more literal, as in like the middle and the end picture, where it's really showing like the outline of a belly button. I've seen ones outlining boobs. I've seen ones with nipples. So I didn't want to put one with a nipple on it because I didn't want to get demonetized. But just use your imagination, Google it, do whatever you want. But yeah, some of it's more subtle. Some of it is more in your face out there. Now, this is one of those trends. I'm not sure how accessible this is going to be, if you're going to be able to find it in thrift stores, but if you do see something like this, definitely pick it up. Next up, we have bleach tie-dye. Now, tie-dye has been on trend for several years now, It made a huge comeback, like, I think 3 or 4 years ago, and it really hasn't gone anywhere. But this season, we're seeing a lot more bleach dye than we are traditional tie-dye. So this is just what it sounds like. It's tie-dye, but using bleach instead of colors, if that makes sense. Now, obviously there are still some colors in there, but like I said, it is leaning more towards bleach. Next on our list, we have graffiti. So graffiti style prints have shown up a lot, especially in outerwear. So like, as you can see on Rihanna, she has this long coat on with all this kind of just graffiti inspired art. You also see this woman right here with the red coat on. Like I said, we're seeing it a lot on jackets, but we're also seeing it on sweatshirts, t-shirts, and even pants. Next up is graphic print. Now, this is kind of an all-encompassing idea. It's basically like wearing pieces of art on your clothing. This comes in all types of prints. So this really goes back to the early 2000s. In my mind, what pops in my head is the newspaper dress that Sarah Jessica Parker wore on Sex and the City. It's like that. It's these like collage prints. It's these oil painting prints of like the cherub babies, and it looks like you're wearing just like a Renaissance painting. It's all kinds of things. There's graphic like advertisement prints. Like I said, this is pretty much all encompassing, but anything that just really has a cool print to it that just reminds you of art, pick it up. Definitely pick it up. Speaking of advertisements, we have Logo Mania. Now, this was a huge thing, again, in the early 2000s. Tommy Hilfiger was one of the main ones to do this, but this is just what it sounds like. The logo is printed all over the garment. People want other people to know who they're wearing. So we see this in everything: jackets, shoes, bags, pants. sweaters, cardigans, the whole 9 yards, even socks. So keep an eye out for those logos. All right, so these last two prints are classics. They come back every year. It's like, you know, florals for spring, groundbreaking, but I'm still going to talk about them because they do have some new little nuances to them and some new inspiration for ways to wear them this season. So first up, we have animal print. Obviously, animal print, tried and true, never going to go anywhere, never not going to be in style, so always pick up animal print. We did see a ton of zebra and tiger print, as well as cheetah print. The cheetah print, like fuzzy jackets, are making a really big comeback this season, so keep an eye out for those, as well as snake print. Really think like early 2000s animal print, I guess is what I'm trying to say. All right, and last but not least, we have our tried and true plaid. I love plaid. Who doesn't love plaid? This season, we saw some funky plaid though, which I am here for. In seasons past, it's been more of like the typical like tan and black, or like just kind of neutral tone plaids, but we saw a ton of colorful plaids this season and I'm living for it. A lot of like 70s inspired plaid and some like 90s grunge plaid, like kind of that like cool skater girl plaid. I'm here for this. And we saw a lot of like emo plaid. My emo kids from the early 2000s, you know what I'm talking about, the emo plaid. It's back and it's here and I'm excited. So pick up plaid, but be on the hunt for some really funky plaid. Let's get fun with plaid this season. How many times did I just say plaid? 100. Alrighty, so that does it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Within the next couple days, I will be releasing the overall trends video. That video is going to be just the overall fashion trends. And then in the next video, we will be covering shoes, accessories, and bags. And then for the fourth and final video, we will be doing menswear. So I am so excited. I hope you guys are too. Let me know what you think of the new format so far. Are you loving it so far? What's your favorite so far? All that and then some down in the comments below. Can't wait to hear from you guys. I hope you have a great rest of your day. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and also click the notification bell and it will notify you when the next video is up. Also, if you like this video, please be sure and give it a thumbs up on your way out, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.